I'm Eric Anderson. Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, border agents find an underground railway for smuggling drugs from Tijuana to San Diego. And less than 3 months after a Lakeside teenager was kidnapped and rescued, there's a book out about the case.
And what are the top 3 most walkable neighborhoods in San Diego County? I'm Peggy Pico with the surprising results in just a moment. Plus, we take a closer look at the potential environmental impact of a proposed ban on plastic shopping bags in the city of San Diego, and why some critics say it's unfair to small grocery stores.
And researchers in San Diego are getting an atomic level look at a key part of the AIDS virus, and that could lead to a vaccine. KPBS Evening Edition starts now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Dwayne Brown is off tonight. 3 people have been arrested in connection with a tunnel from Tijuana to Otay Mesa. Immigration and Customs Enforcement says it's one of the more sophisticated tunnels that they've found over the past few years. It's got electricity, ventilation, and a rail system to ferry drugs between Mexico and the United States. It runs between warehouses on either side of the border. Agents say they seized more than 8 tons of marijuana and 325 pounds of cocaine. In the past 5 years, they found more than 75 of these drug tunnels. They say smugglers especially like to build tunnels in San Diego because the soil is so easy to dig in. The yoga program in the Encinitas Public School District is facing another challenge. Escondido's National Center for Law and Policy has filed an appeal to a Superior Court judge's decision that the yoga program is not religious and can continue. The center says the judge recognized some poses used in the program are identical to those from a form of yoga called Ashtanga. They say it's inherently religious and shouldn't be allowed in schools. Sarah Cruzan spent more than half her life in prison for killing her pimp. Tonight, she's a free woman. KPBS investigative reporter Amitha Sharma has covered the story of this woman who spent part of her childhood here in San Diego. Amitha joins us from the newsroom. So, Amitha, what's the latest? And give us a sense of how difficult this fight was.
Eric, Cruzan left the Central California Women's Prison in Chowchilla early this morning, triumphant after a lengthy uphill legal fight. From the day Cruzan walked into prison in 1995 with a life sentence for killing her pimp in Riverside when she was 16, freedom was a long shot. She had already been denied the possibility of parole against the California Youth Authority's belief she could be rehabilitated and released at age 25. And a Riverside court rejected Cruzan's petition for a new trial, even though her defense attorney never introduced testimony about her abusive upbringing, including the fact that her pimp molested her at 11 and raped her at 13. Her appeals lawyer, Ron McIntyre, says the tide turned when former Governor Schwarzenegger commuted her sentence to 25 years with the possibility of parole. McIntyre says he was able to use that commutation to negotiate a settlement with Riverside prosecutors. Earlier this year, they agreed to reduce Cruzan's first-degree murder charge to second-degree, which made her eligible for parole. McIntyre says Cruzan is now happily ensconced inside an apartment in Orange County in a program to help reintegrate her back into society. We've got more on her story online at kpbs.org.
KPBS investigative reporter Amitha Sharma. Thanks, Amitha.
Thanks.
It's been less than 3 months since Lakeside teenager Hannah Anderson was kidnapped and her mother and brother were murdered by a family friend. A book about the crime is being released this week. The book is titled The River of No Return. Its author, Chelsea Hoffman, is not connected to the case. She runs a true crime blog and has written many novels about missing person cases. In interviews, Hoffman has said that she's suspicious of Anderson's story about how she was kidnapped by James DiMaggio. The San Diego County Sheriff's Department says that Hannah Anderson was a victim. The San Diego City Clerk is now verifying signatures on a petition against the Barrio Logan Community Plan. The petitioners want to put the plan to a citywide vote. The plan would set up a buffer zone between residential areas and the industrial area along the bay. Opponents say the plan could force the maritime industry out of the area. They need 34,000 signatures to get the issue on the ballot. Today, they turned in more than 53,000. The San Diego Fire and Rescue Department will not be able to bid on the city's next ambulance services contract. Interim Mayor Todd Gloria says the department can't legally compete for that contract because it was involved in the drafting of the proposal to solicit bids. Now, the president of the Firefighters Union says he's shocked by the mayor's decision and believes the department can make a bid. The city's current ambulance contract with Rural Metro is due to end June 30th. San Diego City Council will decide if a single-use plastic shopping banning those bags will be held to a vote next year. Peggy Pico is going to look at the environmental impact and why some say that the ban could hurt small businesses.
If voted into law, the ban on single-use plastic shopping bags would also require grocery stores to charge a nominal fee for paper bags. If the ordinance is approved, the city of San Diego would join LA, San Francisco, and Solana Beach in banning plastic bags. Here to talk about the environmental impact is Roger Kuby with the Surfrider Foundation's San Diego chapter. Welcome, Roger.
Thank you, Peggy. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Now, what's this trend behind California to reduce the number of plastic grocery bags?
I think the trend is a recognition by municipalities in the state of California that the impact that plastic pollution in general is having on our coastline and in our environment.
Let's talk about that, because I know Surfrider conducts regular beach cleanups. How many plastic bags actually wind up on our beaches?
I don't have the exact number of plastic bags. It's a pretty difficult number to determine because plastic bags will photodegrade, break down, and you'll get partial pieces of plastic bags. Plastic pollution in general represents about 70% of what we find at our beach cleanups every year, and that's about 50 public beach cleanups per year, about 5,000 volunteers that are pulling trash off our coastline. Plastic bag is one of the top 5 items in the plastic pollution portion.
Major supermarkets in San Diego actually support this ban, but earlier today, Mark Arabo, president of the Neighborhood Market Association, told us this.
I hope they make the exemption for small stores, and I think we could be behind it. But until they do so, we are going to oppose it because it's not right to force a mother or a father or of one kid or 2 kids or 5 kids to pay $2 to $3 more every time they buy groceries at a store.
Well, first, to correct that, is it going to be $2 to $3 more?
No, it's not, Peggy. The initial impact that it's going to have on households based on a recent study by the Equinox Center is in the first year it'll be an average of $7.70 for the first year. Taken into account there is the purchase of reusable bags. Generally speaking, with the ordinance, there's a 10-cent fee on each paper bag that you use. So unless you're filling up 20 to 30 grocery bags, then you're not going to be paying $2 to $3
I do believe Mark was saying he was averaging that 20 grocery bags per visit, so maybe there is that. But I want to move forward to the exemptions. 5,800 retailers here, including Home Depot, they're exempt from this ban. So would this ban unfairly target small businesses, as Mark suggested?
So you're correct. About 5,800 retailers in the city of San Diego would be exempt. The way the ordinance language reads is that the city would revisit in 24 months, including those stores. We are in agreement actually with Mark that we feel that those other stores should be included. However, we feel that all retail stores should be included. No exclusions for the smaller or the larger stores.
How about non-food stores? Are there exemptions for them?
For the non-food store, that's mostly the 5,800 retailers that are currently excluded are non-food stores.
I see. Why do you think this proposed ordinance includes a nominal fee for paper bags?
So ultimately, a paper bag is not a good substitute for plastic bags. Their impact on the environment is less than the plastic bags. So the 10-cent fee per paper bag is supposed to be an incentive for people to bring reusable bags. The reusable bags are the most environmentally friendly option of the 3, so we don't want people to switch from plastic to paper. We want people to bring their reusable bags.
What's the response been so far? What are you hearing either from San Francisco or here closer to home in Solana Beach since their plastic bag ban went into effect in 2012?
That it's effective. I can speak to a recent statistic I saw in the city of San Jose that they saw approximately about a 90% reduction in plastic checkout bags. Also, I was on air a few minutes ago with a representative from San Francisco, and he indicated, based on their surveys before and after, that it's had a significant impact.
What about jobs? Some people from plastics facilities in Southern California, not here in San Diego, might say, hey, this is going to cost us jobs. If people stop using plastic bags, the jobs go away.
Sure. Thank you for noting, Peggy, that no job loss would occur in the county of San Diego. There are no plastic bag manufacturers in the county as far as we've been able to determine. The potential job loss can be mitigated. Most plastic bag manufacturers have a wide variety and array of products. Also, we highly recommend that those plastic bag manufacturers transition to help produce reusable bags.
All right, Roger QB, thanks so much.
Thank you.
A target that's eluded AIDS researchers for more than 20 years has finally been hit. Scientists at the Scripps Research Institute and Cornell University have come up with an in-depth look at a key protein of the AIDS virus. KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg says the finding may get researchers a step closer towards the development of an AIDS vaccine.
Scientists have been trying to get a glimpse of the so-called HIV trimer for decades. The protein complex makes up part of the infectious machinery of the AIDS virus. Scripps biologist Bridget Caraher says dozens of researchers in 3 different labs developed the model.
And we did the electron microscopy on it, and we benefited from some new developments in specimen preparation, some beautiful new instrumentation that we have that's very novel and new, and then some great computer processing.
Caraher says the model offers unprecedented atomic-level detail of this key protein. She believes it will give scientists more insight.
So we now have a chance to understand how it works, how it hides away from the immune system, and that's what makes HIV such a difficult virus, and also how we might attack it in the future using the immune system and thus develop a vaccine against AIDS.
In a different lab on the Scripps campus, biologist Jean-Philippe Julien has put in 3 years of work on this project. The search for an AIDS vaccine has dragged on for years. It's been challenging because the virus is so complex and so variable. Julien says this development moves researchers towards the goal.
We're not there yet, no, but we're definitely closer. It's a huge leap forward.
HIV, the virus that causes AIDS, infects 34 million people worldwide. Kenny Goldberg, KPBS News.
As trick-or-treaters crowd onto sidewalks tonight, Peggy Pico finds out which San Diego County neighborhoods are ranked the most walkable any day of the year.
The 2012 Regional Walk Scorecard compared all 18 incorporated cities in San Diego County. The results may surprise you, with the top 3 most walkable neighborhoods found in La Mesa, National City, and Imperial Beach. Here to explain how these cities garnered the top walkable spots is Kathleen Ferrier with Walk San Diego. Kathleen, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, Walk San Diego has been a nonprofit since 1998. What's its mission?
Our mission is through education and advocacy to make walking a viable transportation choice for everyone.
Here in the county?
Yes, throughout
All
the
right.
county.
Well, the top walkable spots were found in, I think, some unexpected neighborhoods. Highlight what some of the rating criteria was.
Sure, I'd like to talk about 4 that we used in the report. The first is a walk index that we created that balances the number of people already walking in the city with the safety component, so looking at how many collisions have been over a 5-year period. The second piece is really combined more with the third. It's implementation and policies. So that's really to balance what cities are doing on the ground projects such as crosswalks and signage and development projects with the long-term visions that they have through policies.
And then what's the implementation, like how far it goes then?
The implementation is more like different kinds of projects that cities can put on the ground. They're spending money to paint crosswalks, to slow vehicle speeds, to make walking more attractive and pleasant and safe. for people in the city. And then the fourth component is a crowdsourcing tool that we developed through a phone app called Best Walk. And so we actually relied on people around the region to provide us information.
And that's the community input. Let's talk a little bit about that residential input, because this was an app that's still active right now, correct?
That's right, yes.
So anybody can go on and do this app. Walk us through this app and how it works.
Sure. I would love to walk you. That's appropriate.
Yes.
So this app is in English and Spanish, and it asks a person a series of questions that allows them to rate the walkability of their streets. And it's everything from, is there a sidewalk? Is it wide enough for people to walk on? Is it a good condition? To, how do you feel walking here? Do you feel safe walking here? Or do you feel safe crossing the street here? So we're trying to balance the good data type stuff with people's opinion of walking in that area.
And that was included in this report as well.
Absolutely.
Well, specifically, what are these top 3 cities doing to get it right for pedestrians? Because there's a whole lot of cities out there. You think of Coronado or places in Hillcrest or University Heights that seem very walkable. What are these guys doing differently?
Right, that's a really good question. The focus of this scorecard is to not just look at the walkability in cities today, but also to look at what cities are doing to improve walkability. And so these cities who rose to the top that you've mentioned are really the ones who are working so hard to measure walkability, to get those on-the-ground projects, to dedicate funding on an ongoing basis, that have the long-term policies that want to attract more people to walk and get sort of higher density housing in places so that people can walk more easily, and then also getting people involved in education programs.
What's the issue with San Diego downtown? I can name probably 5 or 10 different what might seem like walkable neighborhoods. How come that wasn't in the top 3 here?
Yes, City of San Diego is certainly a city of villages, and what we needed to do was draw a line across the whole region that made it relative to each and every city. And so most of the data that we studied, we actually presented as a percentage so that we could account for the different sizes, because we do have small cities like Del Mar and Imperial Beach compared with the bigger cities like San Diego.
Okay, and the diversity, as you were mentioning.
Absolutely.
So besides the health benefits, which we all know the health benefits to walking, what other impact does walkability have, let's say, on a neighborhood?
Right. Well, one of the things that we like to say, and of course that there's a lot of data behind, and it's appropriate in this day and age, is that it has tremendous economic benefits. One tool that's been really successful is WalkScore, and realtors use this throughout the country to attract people to more walkable areas. We've done studies that show that areas that are more walkable they also have higher property values. Of course, there are environmental benefits. As more people walk, we have fewer cars and fewer air emissions. And then there's also the component of just the social vitality of neighborhoods. And my organization is very, very interested, excited about the vibrancy of streets and making them like public spaces and safe for everyone.
And how is this information going to be used?
Well, we don't want it to be a report that sits on a shelf. What we'll be doing is we'll be reaching out to city staff and to government leaders throughout the region, presenting the results of the report and talking about how we can make more improvements.
All right, well, I want to let folks know they can find out how their city ranks in walkability by going to kpbs.org. Kathleen Ferrier, thank you.
Thanks.
I'm Judy Woodruff on the Next News Hour. A recent spike in bloodshed brings Iraq's prime minister to Washington looking for help. That's Thursday on the PBS News Hour.
A San Diego-based Navy ship sails into history tomorrow. The USS Thatch will be decommissioned after nearly 30 years of service. The Navy is retiring its guided missile frigates, replacing them with new ships designed for combat in coastal waters. A story now about a place where there's Navy history all around, a place where you can almost taste the salt air and feel the waves crashing over the bow. But it's miles from water. It's at a private home in the East County. And as Ken Kramer shows us, it's something absolutely unique about San Diego.
You go to visit Terry Ulmer's home in Petts Valley, you feel like you should request permission to come aboard.
Kramer, arriving.
It's like visiting a Navy vessel and a nautical museum and a shipyard all in one. And I'm not talking just little trinkets. A lot of things here weigh tons. This is big, heavy-duty seagoing iron and steel.
I've collected this stuff from the very first days because I just loved it so much.
Okay, we're going to back up just a bit here. I mentioned Petts Valley. Some people say Pitts or Poots, But he says pets, so pets it is. Near Alpine, Terry has 6 acres here.
These are mast running lights that came off the USS Waddell.
A former shipyard worker at Long Beach and then here in San Diego at 32nd Street, he just couldn't give it up. Loves it all.
These are lights from an LST, and they use that for where they're loading cargo and all.
He's completely at home with the big-scale battleship and destroyer world of Navy vessels.
So I was able to buy this anchor and plus the other one over there. Now, there's people that's come by that see what I have, and they go, well, here, I have this. I had a guy come up with an SUV full of stuff, his very first time. He says, here, I got all this stuff. I didn't even know the guy.
You walk around with Terry Ulmer, and the more he shows you, the more you begin to realize he has things around his house that museums would envy.
This is a duplication of the main throttle board from the USS New Jersey.
He took a picture of the real thing and built a precise copy in his garage.
And this is your ahead throttle. This is your stern throttle. This is your throttle opening indicator.
He has a bar made from wood that was scorched when a kamikaze pilot crashed into a ship's deck in World War II, and a photo of the incident as it was happening.
This is a functional cannon. We shoot this during my 4th of July parties.
Yes, parties in the backyard amphitheater, which can hold 400 for recreations of USO shows and other events back here. There's so much everywhere. Signs that you recognize from San Diego years ago. A one-of-a-kind Admiralty model used to test what a ship will look like before it's even built.
All this plating has been bent and fabricated. You know, there's a lot of detail work, like your railing, your mast, everything.
Oh, and then there is this one more thing. Terry decided he was going to build the pilot house of a destroyer in his front yard.
So I thought, well, if we're going to do a destroyer, I might as well do one that has the same name I do.
The USS Terry, which was home ported for a while in San Diego. You go inside here, you can see this is something done with attention to detail and a lot of care.
These 2 bottom ones are your forward and aft pilot house lights.
It's all wired, it all works, and it's all a labor of love for San Diego's Pearl Harbor veterans. Terry Ulmer built this, the whole pilot house, everything, as a tribute to them. And, well, he had some help. Together, they started working on the project, stepping the mast with a crane. And all the different trades familiar to him from his shipyard days contributed their skills, too, to build something that would be unique.
You have to have Shop 11 ship fitters, Shop 26 welders, Shop 71 painters, Shop 67 radar antennas, pipe fitters. So all these people would work these trades, and we all worked together to accomplish this and have this ceremony on 12/12/12.
At exactly 12:12 p.m. on December the 12th, 2012, it was finished, and the pilot house was dedicated to Pearl Harbor veterans. There were smiles and speeches.
We completed the task on time and on budget. And as a fellow Navy man, I salute you all.
And it's going to be a little harder to dig the canal to get this thing out to the harbor. We've got this thing started.
It's what this means to them, the Pearl Harbor veterans, that makes it worthwhile, Terry says. You have to admire the passion with which he offers it to them as a tribute, and the pure joy he feels with everything that surrounds him here, maintaining it each day just as you would an active Navy ship.
Every day. But keeps me busy.
You also get the idea that Terry isn't done. This museum, shipyard, call it what you will, is a continuing work in progress.
Next year, I'll have out by my flagpole a missile launcher. That's going to be the next thing.
And it's okay, you can have one of those?
Well, I won't have live missiles.
So there you are, Terry Ulmer's Pets Valley home. And about that, he gave me a souvenir, PV for Pets Valley.
This is it, a hat for Mr. Ken Kramer.
Well, I will treasure that. I'll put it on right now, in fact. Pretty smart, don't you think? Something tells me there's a story in that name, too, someday. But for now...
Kramer, departing.
I think you'll agree our Pearl Harbor veterans and we have been treated as something quite extraordinary about San Diego.
And if you'd like a little more satisfying taste of Ken's stories, you can sample About San Diego. It's his half-hour show and can be seen tonight and every Thursday night at 8 p.m. on KPBS television. Temperatures are starting to cool down around San Diego. It's going to be sunny along the coast tomorrow, but clouds are going to move in by the weekend. Temperatures dropping from the mid-70s to the mid-60s. For the inland valleys, low 80s tomorrow, and then a cool down on Saturday and Sunday. Clouds moving in there too. The mountains will have sunshine, 50s to 60s in the daytime, temperatures dropping into the 40s at night. And it'll be sunny in the desert, 80s in the daytime, temperature dropping to the mid-50s at night. Recapping tonight's top story, 3 people have been arrested in connection with an underground tunnel found underneath the border. It runs between warehouses in Tijuana and Otay Mesa. It has electricity, a ventilation system, and a railway for carting drugs. Agents also seized 8 tons of marijuana. You can find tonight's stories and download the KPBS app. It's all on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks very much for joining us. Have yourself a great evening.